They're not telling you this on the news. They're not warning you in the financial papers. But right now, while you're watching this video, the largest financial transformation in human history is being rolled out. And if you're not prepared, you could wake up one morning to find that every dollar you've saved, every retirement account you've built, every bit of financial freedom you thought you had, is now completely controlled by someone else. I'm talking about central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and they're coming faster than most people realize. Now I know what you might be thinking. Digital currency? I already use my credit card. I already use Venmo. What's the big deal? But here's what they're not telling you. A CBDC isn't just another payment method. It's a complete replacement of the money system as we know it, and the implications are staggering. Let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like. Imagine waking up tomorrow and checking your bank account. But instead of seeing your balance at Chase or Bank of America, you're looking at an account directly with the Federal Reserve. Every dollar you have is now a digital token on a government blockchain. Every transaction you make is recorded, tracked, and monitored in real time by central authorities. You go to buy groceries. The system knows. You fill up your gas tank. The system knows. You donate to a political cause the government doesn't like. The system knows. And here's the terrifying part. The system can stop you. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is exactly what's being designed right now. The European Central Bank has openly discussed programmable money. The Bank of England has published papers on how CBDCs could have expiration dates. China's digital yuan already allows the government to see every transaction and control how money is spent. Think about that for a second. Money with an expiration date. Money that can only be spent on approved items. Money that disappears if you don't use it fast enough. This is the world they're building. And the speed at which this is happening should terrify you. Over 130 countries representing 98% of global GDP are now exploring CBDCs. The Atlantic Council tracks this data, and as of this year, the United States is one of the only major economies that has paused retail CBDC development, but that could change with any administration. Meanwhile, the European Union is full steam ahead. The UK is running pilots, Brazil, India, Australia. They're all racing to implement this system. But here's what really keeps me up at night. It's not just about surveillance, it's about control, complete and total control over your financial life. Let me give you a real-world example of how this plays out. During the Canadian trucker protests, we saw a preview of this future. The government didn't like the protest, so they froze bank accounts. Not just the truckers' accounts, but the accounts of people who donated to them. Regular citizens who sent $50 to support a cause they believed in suddenly found themselves locked out of their own money. No trial, no due process, just frozen. Now imagine that same power, but with CBDCs. The government wouldn't need to call banks and ask them to freeze accounts. They could do it instantly, automatically, with the push of a button, and there would be no alternative. No cash to fall back on, no way to transact outside the system. This is why they want to eliminate physical cash. It's not about convenience. It's not about fighting crime. It's about removing your last avenue of financial independence. And they're being very clever about how they're selling this to the public. They talk about efficiency. They talk about financial inclusion. They talk about stopping money laundering and tax evasion, all noble-sounding goals. But what they don't talk about is the price you pay for this efficiency. The price is your freedom. Let me break down exactly how this system works and why it's so dangerous. In a CBDC system, every unit of currency is a digital token that exists on a government-controlled ledger. Unlike cash, which is anonymous and untraceable once it leaves your hand, every digital token has a complete history. The government knows where it came from, where it went, and what it was used for. But it gets worse. Because these are programmable tokens, they can have rules attached to them. The government could program your money to only work at certain stores. They could program it to expire if you don't spend it within a certain time frame, forcing you to consume rather than save. They could program it to be invalid for certain purchases they deem inappropriate. Don't think they'll do this? They're already talking about it. Academic papers from central banks discuss using CBDCs to implement negative interest rates, where your money literally loses value if you try to save it. They discuss using CBDCs to automatically collect taxes. They discuss using CBDCs to enforce social policies by restricting what you can buy. And here's the mechanism they'll use to force you into this system. They'll start by making cash inconvenient. Fewer ATMs, fewer businesses accepting cash, higher fees for cash transactions. Then they'll introduce the CBDC as a better alternative, more convenient, more secure. And for a while, it will coexist with cash. But slowly, systematically, they'll phase out physical currency. They'll set limits on cash transactions. They'll require reporting for cash above certain amounts. They'll make it harder and harder to use cash until finally, one day, they announce that physical currency is being discontinued entirely. For your safety, for your convenience, for the good of society. And at that moment, the trap closes. Because once physical cash is gone, there is no escape from the digital system. Every aspect of your financial life is now visible, trackable, and controllable. Now, I can already hear some people saying, but I have nothing to hide. Why should I care if the government sees my transactions? And that's exactly the response they're counting on. But let me ask you this. Do you trust the government to never abuse this power? Do you trust that every future administration, every future bureaucrat, every future policy will always be fair and just? History says otherwise. History is filled with examples of governments using financial control to suppress dissent, punish political opponents, and enforce conformity. And those governments didn't have anything close to the technological power that CBDCs provide. Think about the IRS scandal where conservative groups were targeted. Think about Operation Choke Point, where banks were pressured to deny services to legal businesses the government didn't like. Think about how social media companies were pressured to censor certain viewpoints. Now imagine all of that power, but applied directly to your money. You post something online the government doesn't like, your CBDC account gets flagged, you donate to the wrong political candidate, your transaction gets blocked, you try to buy something the current administration has deemed inappropriate, your money won't work. This isn't hypothetical. We're already seeing the early stages of this in China's social credit system, where citizens are denied access to trains, planes, and financial services based on their behavior and political compliance. The digital yuan is a key component of that system. And here's what really concerns me. Once this system is in place, it's almost impossible to reverse, because the infrastructure, the control mechanisms, the surveillance apparatus, it all becomes permanent. Future generations won't even remember what financial freedom felt like. So what's the solution? How do you protect yourself from this digital prison that's being built around us? This is where physical silver becomes absolutely critical. And I'm going to explain exactly why silver, more than any other asset, represents your escape route from the CBDC system. First, let's talk about what makes silver unique. Silver is real, tangible wealth that exists outside the digital system. You can hold it in your hand. You can store it yourself. You can transact with it peer-to-peer without any intermediary, without any government permission, without any digital trail. But it's more than just a physical asset. Silver has been money for over 5,000 years. It's mentioned in the Bible. It was used in ancient Egypt, Rome, and China. For most of human history, silver was the primary medium of exchange for ordinary people. Gold was for kings and kingdoms. Silver was for everyone else. And there's a reason for that. Silver has all the properties of good money. It's durable, it's divisible, it's portable, it's recognizable, it's scarce, and most importantly, it can't be created out of thin air by governments or central banks. Think about that last point. Right now, governments can print unlimited amounts of paper currency. They can create digital dollars with a keystroke. But they can't create silver. Silver has to be mined from the ground. It takes real resources, real energy, real work to produce. That's why it holds value. And here's where it gets really interesting. Silver isn't just a monetary metal. It's also an industrial metal with critical applications in technology. Solar panels need silver. Electric vehicles need silver. Electronics need silver. 5G infrastructure needs silver. Medical equipment needs silver. In fact, industrial demand for silver has been exploding. According to the Silver Institute, industrial applications consumed 680 million ounces in 2024, representing 59% of total global demand. That's a massive shift from just a decade ago. And this industrial demand is only going to increase as the world electrifies and digitizes. But here's the problem. Silver supply is constrained. Most silver comes as a byproduct of mining other metals like copper, lead, and zinc. There are very few pure silver mines, and global silver production has been relatively flat for years while demand keeps climbing. This creates a supply deficit. The market has been in deficit for years, meaning more silver is being consumed than is being produced. Where's the extra silver coming from? Existing stockpiles. But those stockpiles are being depleted. And this is where the investment opportunity intersects with the freedom opportunity. Because as CBDCs roll out and people start to realize what they've lost, there's going to be a rush to physical assets. And silver, being more affordable than gold, is going to be the asset that regular people turn to. Let me put this in perspective. Gold is trading around $2,000 per ounce. That's out of reach for many people, but silver is around $25 per ounce. That means someone with $500 can buy 20 ounces of silver. That's accessible. That's practical. That's something ordinary people can actually accumulate. And historically, silver has been incredibly undervalued relative to gold. The gold-to-silver ratio, which measures how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold, is currently around 80-1. But historically, that ratio has been much lower. In ancient times, it was 15-1. In the 1980s, it briefly touched 15-1 again. Even a move back to 50-1 would mean silver more than doubles while gold stays flat. But I think the move could be much more dramatic than that. Because we're not just talking about normal market dynamics. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how people view money and freedom. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this. In 1933, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, which made it illegal for American citizens to own gold. The government literally confiscated gold from private citizens, forcing them to sell it at 20 or 67 per ounce. Then, once the government had collected all the gold, they revalued it to $35 per ounce. Instant wealth transfer from citizens to the government. Now, they didn't confiscate silver. Why? Because silver was still being used as circulating currency. Silver coins were in people's pockets. It would have been too disruptive to confiscate. But here's the lesson. When governments get desperate, when they need to control the population, when they need to fund their operations, they go after wealth. And in a CBDC system, they don't even need to confiscate. They can just program your money to lose value, or restrict what you can do with it, or tax it automatically. Physical silver is outside that system. It's wealth they can't devalue with a keystroke. It's wealth they can't freeze with a button. It's wealth they can't track with surveillance. And this is why I believe we're going to see a massive repricing of silver in the coming years, not just because of industrial demand, not just because of supply deficits, but because of a fundamental recognition that physical assets represent freedom in a digital world. Think about what happened during the pandemic. Governments around the world printed trillions of dollars. They locked down economies. They controlled where people could go, what businesses could operate, who could work, and people felt helpless because they were trapped in a system they couldn't escape. But imagine if you had a significant portion of your wealth in physical silver. You would have had options. You would have had flexibility. You would have had something that held value while paper currencies were being debased. Now, I want to address something important here. If you're sitting on retirement accounts, if you have significant savings in traditional investments, you need to understand that those assets are completely vulnerable in a CBDC system. Your 401k, your IRA, your brokerage account, all of it exists in digital form on someone else's computer. And in a CBDC world, all of it can be controlled, taxed, or restricted. Quick aside here. If you have $100,000 or more in retirement accounts, I've put together a comprehensive guide on how gold IRAs work. It's in the description below. It covers how you can get physical precious metals into your retirement account without triggering tax penalties. It's worth checking out if you want to protect your retirement savings from the CBDC system. All right, back to what we were discussing. The point is, you need assets outside the system, and silver is one of the most practical ways to achieve that. But you have to act before the window closes. Because once CBDCs are fully implemented, once cash is eliminated, it's going to be much harder to convert digital currency into physical assets. They'll put restrictions on it, they'll require reporting, they'll make it expensive and difficult. Right now, you can still buy silver relatively easily. You can go to a coin shop and pay cash. You can order online and have it delivered. You can accumulate it quietly and privately. But that window is closing. And here's something else to consider. As more people wake up to what's happening, as more people realize they need to get out of the digital system, demand for physical silver is going to explode. And remember, supply is already constrained. What happens when millions of people suddenly want to buy silver and there isn't enough to go around? The price goes vertical. We saw a preview of this in 2020 and 2021 when retail silver demand surged. Premiums skyrocketed. Wait times for delivery stretched to months. Some dealers ran completely out of inventory. And that was just a small taste of what's coming. because the next surge isn't going to be driven by investment speculation. It's going to be driven by survival instinct. It's going to be driven by people realizing that their financial freedom is being taken away and they need a lifeboat. And silver is that lifeboat. It's portable enough to move if you need to. It's divisible enough to use for transactions. It's valuable enough to preserve wealth. It's recognizable enough to be accepted anywhere in the world. Think about this scenario. You're living in a CBDC system. The government has implemented capital controls. You can't move money out of the country. You can't buy foreign currency. You can't invest in certain assets. But you have physical silver. You can take that silver across a border. You can sell it for local currency. You can use it to start over somewhere else. That's freedom. That's optionality. That's what they're trying to take away from you. And it's not just about extreme scenarios. Even in normal times, having physical silver gives you leverage. It gives you privacy. It gives you the ability to transact outside the surveillance system. You can sell silver for cash. You can trade silver for goods and services. You can gift silver to family members without the government knowing or taking a cut. This is why throughout history, during times of tyranny and oppression, people have always turned to precious metals. Because precious metals are freedom in physical form. They're wealth that can't be confiscated with a computer command. They're money that can't be inflated away by a printing press. And silver, being more affordable than gold, is the precious metal for the people. It's the metal that regular families can accumulate. It's the metal that can actually be used for everyday transactions if the system collapses. Now let me address some common objections I hear. Some people say, but silver doesn't pay interest. It doesn't generate income. Why would I hold it instead of stocks or bonds? And that's a fair question, but here's the answer. Silver is insurance. It's not supposed to generate income. It's supposed to preserve wealth and provide freedom. Think about it this way. You pay for car insurance every month, and you hope you never need it. But you still pay for it because the alternative, being in an accident without insurance, is catastrophic. Silver is the same thing. You hold it hoping you never need it. But if the system collapses, if CBDCs take over, if your digital assets get frozen or confiscated, you'll be incredibly grateful you have it. And unlike car insurance, silver actually has the potential to appreciate dramatically in value. So you're getting insurance that could also make you wealthy. That's a pretty good deal. Other people say, but the government could just make silver illegal like they did with gold in 1933. And yes, that's theoretically possible. But it's much less likely with silver because silver is an industrial metal. Banning silver would cripple industries that depend on it. Solar panel manufacturers, electronics companies, medical device makers. They all need silver. The economic disruption would be massive. Plus, silver is much more widely distributed than gold. Millions of people own silver coins and bars. Enforcing a ban would be nearly impossible. And even if they tried, the black market for silver would explode, which would defeat the purpose of the ban. But here's the real point. Even if they made silver illegal, you'd still have it. You'd still have physical wealth outside the system. You'd still have options. That's better than having everything in digital form, where they can control it with a keystroke. Let me paint you a picture of what I think is coming. Over the next few years, we're going to see CBDCs rolled out in major economies. They'll start with pilot programs. They'll offer incentives to early adopters. They'll make it seem voluntary and beneficial. But gradually, the pressure will increase. Cash will become harder to use. Digital currency will become the default. And eventually, physical currency will be phased out entirely. During this transition, there will be a window of opportunity. A window where you can still convert digital currency into physical assets. A window where you can still accumulate silver without restrictions. But that window will close. And once it closes, the people who didn't act will be trapped in the system. The people who did act, who accumulated physical silver, will have options. They'll have wealth outside the system. They'll have the ability to transact privately. They'll have something of real value that can't be manipulated or controlled. And as more people realize what they've lost, as more people see their digital currency being devalued or restricted, the demand for physical silver will explode. The price will skyrocket. And the people who position themselves early will not only preserve their wealth, they'll multiply it. This is the opportunity we're facing right now. It's not just about making money. It's about preserving freedom. It's about having options in a world that's trying to eliminate options. It's about holding real wealth in a world of digital illusions. And the beautiful thing about silver is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need to be wealthy to start accumulating silver. You can start with a few ounces. You can buy a little bit each month. You can build your position over time. Every ounce you own is an ounce of freedom. Every ounce you own is an ounce outside the system. But you have to start now, because the clock is ticking. The infrastructure for CBDCs is being built as we speak. The legislation is being drafted. The pilot programs are being launched. And once the system goes live, once cash is eliminated, it will be too late. So here's what I want you to do. First, educate yourself. Understand what CBDCs really are and what they mean for your freedom. Don't just take my word for it. Read the papers from central banks. Look at what's happening in China. Study the history of government control over money. The evidence is overwhelming. Second, start accumulating physical silver. Not paper silver. Not silver ETFs. Not silver mining stocks. Physical silver that you can hold in your hand and store yourself. Coins, bars, rounds, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's real and it's yours. Third, store it securely. Don't keep all your silver in one place. Don't tell everyone you have it. Treat it like the valuable insurance policy it is, because in a CBDC world, physical assets are going to be targets. And fourth, help spread the word. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. Share this information, because the more people who understand what's happening, the more people who position themselves outside the system, the harder it will be for the system to achieve total control. This is the fight of our generation. It's not a fight with guns or violence. It's a fight for financial freedom. It's a fight to preserve the ability to transact privately, to save independently, to live without constant surveillance and control. And physical silver is your weapon in this fight. It's your shield against tyranny. It's your escape route from the digital prison they're building. The choice is yours. You can stay in the system, hope for the best, and trust that governments will never abuse the power that CBDCs give them. Or you can take action now, accumulate physical silver, and ensure that no matter what happens, you have options. I know which choice I'm making. I know which choice anyone who values freedom should make. The question is, what are you going to do? Because the window is closing. The system is being built. And soon, it will be too late to escape. Don't let that happen. Don't wake up one day to find that every dollar you saved, every bit of wealth you built, is now controlled by someone else. Take action now. Get physical silver. Secure your freedom. And prepare for the world that's coming, because it's coming whether we like it or not. The only question is whether you'll be ready.